What is your plan B if nobody marries you?
There's no plan B, it's plan A. There's nothing wrong with being unmarried, happy, and independent.
Men are the majority of victims of public sphere violence.
I'm not saying that any of those statistics or male suicide, any of that stuff exists, because it does. Men are the victims of more workplace violence, workplace suicides, low enrollment rates. That said, that's not systematic oppression in society.
Really? I think that when a 6-year-old girl can hit another child and get away with it and never ever have to suffer retaliation because he's a boy. Okay? I think that's systematic. How? Because if the system intervenes and punishes the boy for hitting back, right? It's systematic.
Because we hear the same argument. What, you're saying that it should be okay to hit women? Nobody should be hitting anybody in the first place. Hit back. You can hit back. You shouldn't
it's okay for a woman to hit a man?
What?
Why does feminism say it's okay to hit a man?
Feminism does not say that it's okay to hit
Okay.
a man.
Thank you for the questions.
Professor Sheehy.
Okay,
Brothers, you can see that this is a talk for men, but a woman comes in to express her opinion and make everything revolve around them because they need attention. These feminists play the victim card very well. As you can see, she said, I know these statistics exist, but women are victims of men. In the end, brother, you have to change the narrative in my favor. It is well known that the state does not protect a man, even in a false accusation. Nowadays, the most powerful weapon a man has against abuse from a woman is his phone because it has a camera where he can record everything. There are women who have destroyed a man's private property and nothing happens. There are women who falsely accuse men of violence, especially during divorce proceedings, and nothing happens. There are women who physically assault men in public or private, and nothing happens. When they are caught, and it is evident that she committed the crime, only if it's within less than a month, she goes back to the same behavior, and nothing happens because she is a woman. How much abuse from older women towards younger men do you see nowadays? Almost none, brother. Let me tell you that it exists. However, when it involves a man and a minor, which I'm not saying is right or denying it, this man rots in jail. The system is so flawed that if you go and file a complaint or request a restraining order, you need more evidence or sometimes end up being ridiculed. When you are a victim, brother, being a man is difficult in a system that discriminates against you as the villain just for existing.
A world where more and more men are single because women do not want to date them is a world that's very dangerous for women, which is why I worry about retaliation in reaction to the rise of single men. We actually have data from this year that shows young women are way less interested in dating than young men are. And we have data to show that more women than men are single because they simply cannot find someone they are interested in dating. 38% of single American women say the main reason they're not dating is they can't find someone that meets their expectations, compared to only 23% of men say the same thing. College-educated women are the group most likely to say they are single because they can't find someone that meets their expectation, 45%. And I can hear the men in my comments now saying, see, it's women's fault. They have too high of expectation and that's why everyone is single and lonely. But let me remind you that women have always entered into marriages with the expectation that it is going to materially improve their lives. We needed husbands for financial security. We needed them for bank accounts, for credit cards, to have a house to live in. And now women are doing better than men. We are more educated. We are stable on our own. And women who are independent and self-sustaining do not need to get married. When you don't financially need a husband or a partner, you can say, I'm not going to get a partner until I find one that's emotionally supportive, emotionally intelligent, doesn't need me to be his therapist and his mom, doesn't need me to do all the childcare, all the housework. And men will tell you, they do in my comments every single day, that these expectations are just simply too much. I fear for escalating retaliation that this will cause interpersonally between men and women, and also in legislative and policy decisions, like the push to get rid of no-fault divorce, in the rolling back of reproductive rights, and with things like student debt and college affordability. They're not going to make college more affordable when more women going to college results in higher expectations of the men that want to date us. So yeah, that's why I worry about retaliation of men who cannot make it worth it for women to want to date and marry them.
These same women are the ones who later complain about not finding a man, those who complain because men leave the country to marry foreigners, those who complain because men choose to be alone, those who complain about not finding a man for marriage. And we see it daily in these videos because when you're 25, your face is still young, and you don't need any man because you have fun with the current Chad. But at 35, without children, that burden begins to weigh on you. It's true that with greater financial power in women, their standards increase. Many will say they don't want a man financially, but to this day, I've never seen a millionaire woman dating a guy from McDonald's for his good feelings. Let's be honest, women's hypergamy doesn't change. If you don't bring more to the table than she does, she won't want you. Why do you think almost all successful women with careers or doctorates are single? It's because there are no men at their level. No, brothers, it's because a man will go for the pretty girl in the cafe, not the one at his economic level. It's easier to see successful men and women together when they both meet while studying, get married, and improve each other. But a woman at the top only wants a winner, and a man at the top only wants a young, beautiful, and fertile woman who doesn't work. Why do you think this happens? Because even though these women contribute financially, no one can stand them. They have the character of a man, they are hyper-independent, and they are not women who let themselves be led. No man can tolerate that headache, which is why most hit the wall, because the wall does not forgive.
Women, stop saying I don't need men. It's a poisonous attitude. There is this belief in our society that somehow it's a good thing for women to not need a man. But do you know what you are doing when you're saying this? For men, it is one of the most important needs to be valuable and useful for the people he loves, and especially for the woman in his life. If he feels that you don't need him, he will feel that he doesn't bring anything to the relationship. It will make his self-esteem go down, and he will just become passive and really, really sad. So if you want to do something really good for your relationship, always give your man this feeling that, yeah, he's so important to you and that he brings a lot to your life, and let him help you with things. Let him, carry stuff for you, let him give you advice, like just cherish him as a important person in your life that you 100% value, and I promise you that it will do wonders for your relationship.
Brothers, many women today say there are no gentlemen, but when a man simply opens the door for them out of politeness, this woman ridicules him, wanting to accuse him of being oppressive because being chivalrous is seen as enforcing the patriarchy. If a woman is financially independent, if a woman can do everything, why does she need a man? As a man, you don't find your place because you're not a team. You feel like a tool that will be used at some point. Men are connected to the energy of building and fixing things. When that is taken away from us, we can no longer protect. That's why more and more people are becoming self-sufficient machines, doing everything. The idea that men don't help at home is outdated. Most men live alone unless they live in a dump. Of course, they can clean or cook, something every responsible individual should do. This is why every man now wonders what this woman brings to the table. Many women are bothered by this because they can only offer presence, which degrades over time, while a man does the same but also contributes material and economic value, as well as the security of a home. These women don't offer any of that. They don't even want to clean their own roof. That's why more and more men are leaving the country for more traditional cultures. They can't stand the women here who constantly minimize everything they do. That's why they hit the wall more and more each day.
I was a feminist when feminism was about equality, about levelling the playing field, giving women an opportunity to find their rightful place, particularly in the public world, which was tremendously important and exciting when we achieved that. But what feminism today, to me, is all about advantaging women at the expense of men. And it's become very much caught up in the demonisation of males, presenting them always at a disadvantage. And I don't want to have any part of that. I was writing recently about boys' education, which is something I've written about for many decades. And I came across an article I wrote 40 years ago, where we just started to notice how badly boys were doing vis-a-vis girls. I mean, we'd had 10 years of programs trying to help girls do better in the schools, which was fantastic. And a lot of girls who had been held back by traditional assumptions about, girls not speaking up and girls not doing well in maths were now beginning to shine, which was a fantastic thing. But what was becoming very obvious is there were also a lot of boys falling behind and not achieving their potential. We have really very much feminist ideology infiltrating all our education systems, systematic programs to continue to advantage girls, and no one taking any notice of the fact that boys are falling out in huge numbers.
This woman has her feet on the ground. She sees reality. This often happens when a woman has sons. She witnesses the systematic abuse against her children. Many don't see it either, leading to the feminization of her son. The system is producing more working women to increase taxes in the workforce. That's why the number of women over 30 in managerial or high-ranking positions in companies is increasing every day, some based on merit and others on a pretty face. The more you attack men, the more they become marginalized. Why do you think the suicide rate among men is so high? Why do you think more men are secluded at home? Why do you think more men feel lonely? Why do you think more men turn to vices? Men have been feeling more useless over time. Unfortunately, this will continue to happen because, just as there is an increase in single women, there is also an increase in divorce and single mothers. Most children nowadays lack a father figure, making many children weaker. Why do you think strong men are under attack nowadays? Why do you think women are bothered by red pill rhetoric? Why do you think figures like Andrew Tate are so controversial? These men and discourses remind men of their masculinity, of feeling superior, of moving forward, and working towards their goals. That's why I always say, work on yourself, prioritize yourself in your life because you are the most important person in your own life.
So I'm currently doing the lit review for my PhD, and I'm studying feminism, misogyny, and networked activism. And so I'm having to kind of think a lot about the work that I do on TikTok and my own feminist beliefs and what I think the real role of feminism is today. And what I've realised is that the main battle that feminists should be fighting now is against capitalism and the impact of capitalism on women globally. I've just finished reading this book, which I highly recommend. But one area of that book that really piqued my interest was domestic labour, and just how important it is that domestic labour is not properly compensated or recognised in a functioning capitalist society. And if that sounds backwards, it's because it is. The whole capitalist model operates on the premise that there's a few people at the top that make profit off of the vast majority of people beneath them working harder for less money. People work harder than they need to, and that surplus labour is the profit for the business. So capitalism loves surplus and it loves free work. And what is some of the greatest free work that's done in our society? Childcare, child rearing, childbirth. Having children is essential to the sustenance of any society, but in capitalism, they're not just people that are continuing the next generation, they're the next generation of workers, most importantly. And reproductive labour, i.e. the work that goes into reproducing yourselves to create another generation of workers, is disproportionately undertaken by women. Obviously, you've got the physical element of women actually being the ones to give birth and breastfeed and things like that, but you also have the fact that for a very privileged group of women like myself, if we want to then contribute successfully to a capitalist society, the best thing we can do is outsource a lot of the caring labour, i.e. the raising of the kids and the looking after of the kids, to another woman who is less privileged, so that we can go off and have our high-flying jobs and careers, and this other woman can look after our children for us so that we can go and have nice lives. And then the chain continues until you get to less and less privileged women. Under a capitalist society, the best model we can be offered as women is one which shifts all of the reproductive labour off to less privileged women so that we can enter a level playing field with the men and try and compete for that top tier privileged job, economic, social security. And that's why this whole you can have it all pseudo-feminist narrative is really toxic, because it's only accessible to an extremely privileged few. Most women still will struggle to actually make it to the top in their workplaces anyway, because productive labour and reproductive labour is still inherently gendered in our society. So there's still a broken rung on the career ladder for women getting up to management level. Women still have to work a second shift at home, and all that undervalued work goes to creating the ultimate commodity, the next generation of workers.
Due to these absurdities, the green and pink hair movement is gaining ground every day, believing they are oppressed. How many women do we see nowadays without children in the workplace, realizing that they contribute nothing and cannot climb high corporate ranks due to their lack of ability? How many privileges do companies grant women just so they can have children and spend time with their families? The problem lies in a capitalist society where everyone wants money. Women no longer want to form a team, they want their own money. Did you hear this woman mention her spouse at any point? Of course not. She's a single mother. Even if both partners work, they should support each other. Nowadays, many women don't want to give up their careers, which is why you see their children being raised by nannies or the government, absorbing ideas and values contrary to family. That's why you see so many children with depression, because neither parent is present for them. The mother is busy working, and the father may only have one day a month to see them. Here, what matters is money. That's why they devalue domestic work, attacking women who stay at home to care for their children, a job every man appreciates because it's not easy but necessary. They see it as undignified because what matters here is money. The upcoming generation will only be machines of labor because the focus is on creating workers. We've reached the end of the video, but before we go, the questions are for you. What do you think about this toxic feminism? Do you believe that women have few privileges nowadays? If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. Your support means the world to us and motivates us to create more content. Stay tuned for the next exciting video from The Wall.